Hello everybody, welcome to What If Deku is a Knight? Just to put the lay of the land down, so you can understand how this story's gonna go. It's gonna deviate a lot from the original story. Certain events will happen from the original MHA story, but again, this is all meant to fit in a one-shot, so everything might not fit. But here's the good news. If this one-shot does really good, and a lot of you watch it, and a lot of you like it, and all that stuff, I will continue it as its own mini-series. It won't be super long like all the other ones, but it will get finished and wrapped up pretty quickly. But the other thing I also want to mention, in this one, Deku is an ancient knight, so that's how he's going to end up in the modern day of the world. But on top of that, he's going to be given immortality in some way, which you're going to have to hear in the story. But it's going to be from different character that you guys will get to meet in a certain sense of the word. That's all I have to say. And now let's get into this. Starting now, basically, okay? But yeah, see you in a bit. Then we cut to a scene where Deku is waking up, like for the first time. After a long time, he feels like, where he's looking at a modern day Japan. He's a little confused how he ended up there, which the guy he talked to in the past said, that he would save his life if he did him a favor for doing something. And in the future, or whenever Deku woke up, he was going to explain everything. And, well, Deku's awake. And he doesn't know why there's these weird carriages with no horses, or why there's these giant towers but with no walls and stuff like that. But, he shrugs anyway. Amazed though, because of how everything is lit up, even though it's nighttime. And he's wondering, how does every house have a torch or some type of fireplace? And that's when his benefactor, the one who basically kept him alive, reveals himself. And right when you guys are going to get to see him, we get taken to the past to find out why Deku ended up, sleeping for a very, very, very long time. Then you guys get to see basically Deku in a knight position, kneeling in front of the king. And it's King Toshinori, as Deku says, "My king, what did you call me here for this time, sir?" And, he says that very respectfully, because this is Deku. We know it. And King Toshinori, which is not the same guy, by the way. I just used the name to give a good reason. You'll understand very shortly, okay? But he basically looks at Deku and says, "Yes, apparently we are about to soon be invaded by something called a Viking? I don't know. I heard it was a new term for these invaders, and I have a task for you for them. I need you, Midoriya, to hold the line on the edges of Sanctuary Castle. Basically, that's where these Vikings are planning their assault against us, and planning to destroy our way of life and all that. And I need you and a bunch of your brave knights, and whoever else is willing to fight at this case, to hold back these Vikings. Do you understand, my knight?" And Deku's like, "Yes, my lord. I completely understand. And I will deal with these adversaries as fast as humanly possible, so you don't have to worry about them at all." And yes, I was just trying to make it dramatic, so if you're wondering why I'm talking like that, that's why. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Anyway, after Deku says that, he makes his journey to this castle, the one that the king told him to go to. As he's making his way, he's going to, first get his knights. And his knights live in this type of, town that are not too far away from the main castle, but his knights are his own special knights that he has personally trained for a long time. And there's different ones that he knows. And when he finally gets inside the tavern where most of them are really at, because, hey, why not? When you're a knight, you want to drink, right? So when he gets there, he meets his, second in command, a Bakugo. And it's not the Bakugo, it's a different Bakugo. And he's like, Bakugo, get the men quickly as possible. We have a mission from the king. And he's like, really? From the king? What's this mission about, sir? And Deku's like, basically we're going to be assaulted, like, from a certain castle point from Vikings. And the king has tasks us personally to hold that position as much as possible. Then Bakugo is like, very well then, sir. It's very understandable. But I'll try to get everyone. Just give me a moment. And Deku does. He actually gives Bakugo some time as he goes outside and waits. And waits. And waits a little more. Till the point where he started just kicking a can that he found. Why? Well, he's still waiting. Because there's a lot of people in a Night Legion. So he literally has to wait for that long. And once when his second in command finally shows up, he's like, oh my gosh, Sir Bakugo, you took forever. And Bakugo is like, I am so sorry. It's just a lot of people decided to be lazy today. And Deku's like, okay, you know what? Understandable. I ain't surprised, really, in all honesty. I kind of highly expected this. But, whatever, I guess. But anyway, since now all of them are here, we can get moving. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them packed their stuff, because if I had to wait for this long, that practically was expected. And Bakugo's like, yep, that's what they were doing the whole time. And again, sorry if I didn't let you know, sir. And Deku's like, you know what? I'm not really mad or anything. I was just, bored of waiting. And after Deku said that, they slowly make their march to the castle, the one that they have to defend. And when they're making their march, they have to go through a lot of cities, a lot of beautiful structures, a lot of that. And when they finally make it to the castle named Sanctuary Castle, they make their trip there, making it basically there. And when they get inside, the castle is a little disrepaired because it did sustain a few attacks, and the knights that were there were very happy that Deku showed up because, he ain't just any ordinary knight. He is a legendary knight. Legends say that he could take down 10 men by himself. But that's what the other knights around were, obviously talking to each other about. The legends surrounding Deku in this, in this past. But in the end, Deku looks at the last remaining knights and says, hey, why is there a giant hole in the side of the castle? Like, genuinely, like what happened? How this happened? And the local knight that was there, the local knight's commander and stuff, he's like, genuinely, they came out of nowhere, but they, used some type of new weapon that we haven't seen before, like severely, and it damaged the wall this badly. We were caught off guard, and, honestly, 20 of us died from it. Sir, in all honesty, we don't know if we could handle another attack like that. So that's when Deku looks at the knight and says, okay, so here's the plan. We repair the walls. We make a purposely area where the enemy Vikings can pierce through the wall. And basically, we have them in a choke point where they have to come in, but that also allows our archers to rain down on these bastards, and where we can use hot oil and other equipment to slow down these barbarians, these animals. And, that's what Deku says to them. And so, after he gives that order, the head knight goes like, all right, Sir Deku, we got this. And that's when all the other knights are preparing their new strategy. And while they're doing that, Deku takes a moment to look at the horizon just to see all the dead, or, the dead knights who fought to hold the line up further down, where it's like a battlefield. It's like scattered armor everywhere, and like just corpses on the ground, just like a lot of men, a lot of blood, everything. And like, in all honesty, there is, weapons that are shattered or cracked, or like just a lot of blood, and a lot of people who have internal bleeding that like you could clearly tell they did, or some people who just bled out. And earlier, one of the knights, when he got up there, said they were attacked by a demon. And here's the thing, Deku ain't stupid. He's not the dumbest person. He is really smart in this. So he doesn't believe it's a demon. He knows for a fact, being that demons that people spread legends about don't really exist, besides the Bible, because he knows that exists. But like, all the other legends of these warriors that haven't really died or anything, he knows it's obvious that people are fibbing. So he doesn't expect this to be a demon. He thinks it's a legendary warrior, a legendary thing. It's a legendary person who's just really smart, but people put it up to myth or legend because they're so blinded of like, oh, how the fuck are these savages doing this? They must be using something demonic or something bad or whatever. So Deku's not stupid. This is his thought process. This is how he's thinking about it. So he looks at his second in command as he says, "What do you think? Do you believe these other knights and think it's a demon, my friend, or do you think this is something else?" And Bakugo says, "In all honesty, I agree with you, sir. I do not think this is a demon. I genuinely think this is something trying to pretend to be that way to throw all our knights off their game." And Deku claps his hands and says, "You're right, because that's what I have as well. This sneaky suspicion that, in all honesty, that this is some sort of mind games, and they're trying to throw us off of our A game and trying to, make us lose the will to keep fighting in some type of way. But why? And how are they even managing this? Mostly because what I have reported from, the knights here, most of the Vikings didn't start doing this until now, until they started to release their quote-unquote demons onto them. So, in all honesty, they must have somebody who's smart in their ranks to make them think this way." And Bakugo's like, "In all honesty, I agree with you. It must be something, but I don't know what." And after that whole conversation, Deku goes by himself for a bit of time as he sits there, and he kind of has a bad feeling of what's going to happen after this battle. He just feels like, for some reason, that he's going to die. Like, he doesn't know how he's going to die, but he just has a feeling that, I'm going to die. Like, I'm just going to hit the bucket, like, in the midst of battle, and boom, dead, gone. That's what's going to happen. That's what he has the feeling of. And he has a feeling that it's not going to come true, but he also has a feeling that it could actually come true. He's like 50-50 type scenario, So he's kind of sitting there debating it in his head. But after he took this moment to like consider this dark thought that, popped up into his head, or his dreams in this point, he just takes a moment to just think to himself of what he should do just in case if he does die. Because in the end of the day, he knows he only has one life. And if it's gone, it's gone. He ain't coming back. So he takes a moment to write a letter to send it to his father. Because, He already lost his mother. So why not send something to his father that he knows is still alive by this time? So far that Deku knows. And what he writes down is basically saying something like this. So the letter that Deku decides to write is very, very simple. He sits there and he writes, "Dear Father, I am writing this just in case for my death. If I ever died, you should know that I do love you and I do care. And I hope the best for you. And in the end, take all my spoils of war, my gold, and everything else that I have, even my home, if I ever died. And I know we haven't really connected in a very long time, but in the sense of the word, I still love you and I still care for you, my father. And in the end, if it turns out I have died in battle, please, for love of everything, try to recover me if you can. If not, then build a statue or something. I don't know." Then after Deku writes that last bit of the letter, he sends it off. He sends it off in its way to go to his dad. And that's when. Then after that, it takes a few days to get their men and all that set up for their plan against the Vikings. And what are they planning, you may ask? Well, so far, Deku has had a bunch of men who are archers on the walls, but also crossbowmen, a few catapults that he was able to set up pretty quickly. And, well, on top of that, what makes this very nice is, well, he was able to have men behind the obvious breach wall that the Vikings are going to fall for. And, well, he also has it where he got some hot oil and a little bit of an extra surprise on top. So, after he got all that set up and all that, he is, sitting there, looking on the horizon for a bit because he was standing for a while ago. And he's now waiting for his enemy with his men and with the people who were originally there. So he needs to make sure that they cannot breach this wall, that this is the most important wall in the kingdom. Because in this section, this specific spot, if it falls, it gives the Vikings a golden opportunity to attack the capital, to attack the main castle, to attack the king. And this would leave the kingdom, well, more vulnerable. And on top of that, the king will have to redraw a lot of forces from other areas to defend the main castle against these Vikings and against this, basically this main attack, if they ever succeeded. But anywho, that's when Deku, as he's waiting, the attack finally happens. The Viking horde comes in, and they came in with a lot of stuff, like a lot of things to try to break through this castle, because they are determined to break this fortress so they can hit the capital. So what happens is, basically the Vikings come in as a fucking swarm. Just, bodies. They're throwing bodies at the castle walls. And the knights are, they're having their archers attack. Long distance battles as the Vikings bring in a lot of different equipment. I ain't gonna describe everything because then this will make this very long. But let's just say they're throwing a lot of traditional weapons at each other at this point. And on Deku's side, he has ordered his men to shoot the catapults, while on the Viking side, they're shooting their version of catapults. And also, real quick, I have no idea what Vikings have, so just bear with me. Pretend I already said it, okay? But yes, they are duking it out. And that's when Deku, according to Deku's plan, the Vikings actually pierce the side that Deku intentionally made weaker, as basically the Vikings break through and the knights come in and ambush them hard. They ambush the Vikings hard, catching them off guard. as knights are duking it out with Vikings, and the Vikings are losing a bit because, well, they're bamboozled and they're also off balance too. But while that's going on the Vikings that are like kind of in the back more feel something touch the top of their helmets, and they're like, what hit us? And right when one looks up, he gets hit with hot oil burning his flesh on his face, and the Vikings in the back start, the oil starts burning them. So they kind of like go down or like cover their eyes, and they're like trying to wipe off the oil, and it's not working. It's not working for them. It really is not. But that's when a lot more happens here. Basically speaking, the knights take more ground back, and they just use this as a big sabotage. But that's when the Vikings' ultimate weapon comes in, the thing that scared the previous knights that were here and made them retreat. And it was like a bigger Viking, but he ain't stupid. He is actually more smarter. And when he comes in, he just breaks another bit of the wall, letting more Vikings in and, well, forcing the knights to deal with that other breach. But on top of that, Deku decides he's going to be the one to deal with this bigger threat. And when that's going on, a few Vikings try to get in Deku's way, but he just chops them down really fast. Like, full on, like, breaking their ankles. I ain't gonna lie. Like, he cut them off completely, severing their ability to walk permanently. And he just walks past them like they're nothing. When they try to hit him with their swords, because they still have arms, he just cuts off their arms like they're nothing. Because again, this Deku has been around for a good while, and he's an adult, so it's just obvious at this point. But when he goes up against this behemoth of a Viking, they actually have a real fight. And Deku's like, in all honesty, this is gonna be fun for me. I haven't had a real challenge in, well, I say a few years, honestly. And the Viking's like, oh, really? Oh, well, I can't wait to have a fair opponent. And Deku's like, what's your name? And, well, the Viking's like, everyone just calls me Muscular. And Deku just looks up and down for like 2 moments as he says, in all honesty, that actually really suits you, man. And, well, Muscular in this point was like, oh, you know what? I will accept that compliment for now, but I'm still gonna kill you. And Deku's like, you know what? Fair enough. Understandable. But let's have a go at it. And right when they say that, they just go at it. Full on force between each other. As Deku lunges and sword strikes this man. It does hit him in the armor, but it doesn't really penetrate. And when the Viking uses his big battle axe to hit Deku in response, it kind of doesn't really hurt Deku as much. It mostly hit him in his solid part of the armor, but it did jostle some things up in there. So he is, he did cough up a little bit of blood, but not a lot. And in return, Deku hits Muscular back 10 times more harder, and Muscular, even though the armor didn't break, did also cough up blood in response as well. As they both go at it, and at one point Muscular grabs Deku physically by one of his arms, as Deku did a lunging pierce strike, but Muscular in this, he's not stupid, so he dodged out of the way, grabbing Deku by the arm and then throwing him against a tree, breaking the tree and kind of, well, breaking one of Deku's ribs. But he's like, for him, that ain't nothing new. So he gets up and lunges towards Muscular, severing the back part of one of his knees, making him kneel for a second, as Deku comes in and double kicks the man, making him fly backwards a little bit and breaking through a tree as well. And Deku is like, oh man, you're actually a really fun guy to fight. And Muscular is like, you know what? I could say the same to you. Too bad we both have to do what we gotta do. And Deku's like, understandable. I 100% get it, man. in all honesty, you're pretty honorable for a Viking. And Muscular is like, you're pretty barbaric for a knight. And when they both say that to each other, they go at it again, duking it out. And as they're fighting, the battle goes into Deku's favor for a bit. And after a bit of time, this lasted for a few days. Like literally actually days. This lasted for a whole month. And Deku and Muscular, by the end of their fight, they were tired. They were super tired. They were like, in all honesty, they were just dying from sweat at this point. Especially Deku, since he's like wearing full-on freaking armor. But Deku still kept smiling. So when they both finally charged at each other, Deku was able to pierce Muscular. But sadly, in consequence, Deku also got pierced as well with the axe, but on Deku's right shoulder. And as they both lie there on the ground, Muscular fully died because where Deku pierced him was in the neck. So bro's like, choking on his own blood. Well, Deku is laying there. His arm could have been severed, could have been, broken. So far that he knows, he's just laying there having a hard time breathing as a certain individual walks into frame. And he looks down at Deku as he says, in all honesty, you were such a good knight. I do not want you to perish. In all honesty, you're the most honorable, but also most fierce fighter of this generation. But I have a proposition for you. It's very simple. All I need is your word that you're going to agree and, listen to things out, and I will also make sure you can understand certain stuff. You'll understand that last bit very soon, okay? And Deku, coughing up a little bit of blood, says, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm gonna help you stay alive longer. Duh. It's that simple. But I gotta, let's just say a God-driven mission for you." And Deku's like, "A God-driven mission? What are you, an angel?" And Deku's just like wondering if this guy is actually an angel. Where this guy is like, "Yep, something like that. But in all honesty, I need you for something in the future." And Deku's like, "The future? What do you mean by that?" And the knight's like, "Oh, wait, duh. I should introduce myself. I'm Chivalry. In all honesty, besides that, honestly, my man, the future needs you. For many, many, many good reasons. And trust me, you're gonna like where you're gonna end up. In all honesty, in all truth, I believe you can change a lot of things for the better in the future because certain things are gonna change. And the, ways of old knight and, how certain things usually play out has changed in the future. And trust me, buddy, they're gonna need you." And Deku's like, "You know what? I don't know what you're talking about, bud, but if it saves me from technically dying, I'll accept it, I guess. Since you do say it's a mission from God." So, and that's when Chivalry reaches down, touching Deku's helmet, taking it off, and touching Deku by the face, as Deku feels so tired, and he falls asleep for a good amount of years until the MHA, year. And if you don't know what that is, just look it up and you'll understand. But when he wakes up, this is when he wakes up in an old abandoned section of, street of Japan. Here's the thing. He doesn't know he's in Japan until Chivalry shows up again. As he says, "Hey, wake up, sleepyhead. How do you feel?" And Deku's like, "What? Where am I? Where's the castle? Where's the battle? And Chivalry cuts him off and says, "Oh, don't worry, buddy. In all honesty, don't you remember what I said?" And Deku takes a moment. He's like, oh, right, the future, that stuff you were talking about. I guess you weren't lying, because there's this weird stuff that I can see around me. Doesn't look like a castle. And that's when Chivalry looks at him and says, you know what? Just to make life easier, here, I'm going to put memories and, well, basically common knowledge of what's going on right now, of how the world is and all that junk in your head, so you can understand, so I don't have to explain everything, whenever you see it. And Deku takes a moment and he's like, you know what? Fuck it. You already proved that you brought me to the future, so far I can tell. And I would rather know stuff that would make things easier for my mission. And that's when Deku kneels in the knight position, sword in the ground, like him on his knee, on one of his knees, while he has his other hand resting on the other knee, and his head bowed as Chivalry reaches down, touching Deku on the head and showing him the memories of history and of the current time. It's not all fast for Deku, because Chivalry, well, for Deku's mind, Chivalry did it where for him it's slow, but like for everyone else in the outside world, if you were looking at them from the outside, it looks like Deku got it like just instantly on a snap of his fingers. But for Chivalry, he made it so it just like, for Deku, it's like a whole good amount of time for him to learn it, and so he doesn't struggle. And when Chivalry is done, he looks at Deku and says, how do you feel? Do you understand now? And Deku looks very surprised as he says, wait, so there's a thing called quirks. People have basically superpowers. They can do whatever they want with these powers, right? No, wait. I think I'm misremembering. Oh, right. So they have a whole quirk thing, laws and stuff, and now there's societies. No one takes over territories. There's no more kingdom type stuff. There's more like governments, and governments are like all these other things, right? And Chivalry's like, yeah, man, I guess you got it really well. But here's the thing. Here's your mission. It's very simple. Now they need a hero more than ever, because I have witnessed this time's heroes, and in all honesty, they're not doing it for like the good of people. But you, on the other hand, you do what you do because it's right. It's the goodest thing you could do for other people. Do you understand what I mean, my friend? And that's when Deku's like, you know what? Understandable, bro. Like, I get it. That's why you chose me, dude. You chose me because I was the honorable. I was a hero in my time. So, yeah. But I also, don't worry, I understand I can't fully kill people, I guess. Unless there's a way I could do so, but whatever, I guess. We'll see how that goes when I can get down to it, But anyway, should I get new armor or something? And that's when Chivalry cuts him off and says, well, you don't need it. You don't need new armor. Your armor will suffice, because just take it as a blessing, okay? Because I upgraded it so these quirked individuals don't easily break it. So it's more durable than the past. And luckily for you, you somewhat got powers too now. Just a little bit, regeneration, durability, a little bit of strength, a little bit of speed. Not so much where it's like unhuman, but like enough where you can stand up to these, quirked individuals. And Deku's like, oh, right, that's sweet. And that's when Chivalry's like, but if you practice more, you can unlock more unique powers. And the way this works is simple. You do missions, you do heroic stuff, you earn points, buddy. And in return, you can talk to me about it, and then I give you something new that you can master, learn, or whatever. Because in the end, I want to make this a little bit exciting for you and me. And Deku's like, you know what? In all honesty, I thought coming to the future is interesting, but man, you're a little crazy, man, aren't you? And Chivalry's like, yeah, whatever, man. I do what I do because I choose to do so. Well, because someone else told me to, but still, you get what I mean. And Deku's like, wait, what do you mean by that last bit? And Chivalry completely ignores Deku's question as he says, Well, anyway, again, we have to make things fun and interesting for certain individuals. But besides that, man, here's your first mission, okay? There's a little girl called Ari. She's, been basically used for experiments and type of, messed up shit against her own free will. And Deku actually looks pretty angry as he says, "Someone has been hurting a child? Oh, when I get my hands on them, I'm going to..." And right when he was going to say something, Chivalry comes in and he says, hold up. I have to finish. So basically what you need to do, buddy, is simple. It's super, super duper simple. You need to go and save her. And, if you want, you can kill these guys, because in all honesty, they kind of deserve it for obvious reasons. But hey, man, up to you, whatever you choose to do, man. But be careful. The child can rewind time, buddy. So, in the sense of the word, she can rewind you back to the past. Which, hey, I wouldn't want that yet. So, don't let her do so. Because in the end, you may break our agreement if you do that. And Deku's like, I understand, and besides, I feel like that would mess with certain things that shouldn't be messed with. And Chivalry's like, oh, I'm glad you understand that. But anyway, besides that, I need you to walk to this location at this certain time at this certain day. So you got 2 days to chillax before you have to do what you got to do. And Deku's like, oh, okay, I see it. On this map, okay. Makes sense. Understandable, yep, okay. And after Deku was saying all that is because he was looking at the map and understanding what Chivalry said. Because he took a moment to think about it. But that's when Deku decides to ask one final question. Real quick, how many missions this is going to be? I'm just curious. For me, since I'm going to be doing them at certain times, right? Or do I just do them whenever? And that's when Chivalry's like, oh yeah, you can choose whatever missions you want to do. You can do multiple if you really want to. I just tell you what time certain things will happen, but you don't have to exactly do it at that time. But I won't tell you everything of every time. You just have to guess sometimes. So, for example, for certain things, I could tell you a certain location, but it's up to you to figure that out. And Deku's like, that makes sense to me, honestly. Okay, fair enough. You don't want everything to be the same. And that's when Chivalry's like, yep. Anyway, get going. So after that, Chivalry just, disappears. And Deku starts walking, making his way through Japan. Which, for him, this is unique. This is so new. Something that he never seen before. And he is loving it. He loves it. But he noticed people are staring at him. But because he was hit with certain knowledge of the future, he comes down to the conclusion that people might think he's just a hero, since his armor is very polished and it looks more heroic than most. So he doesn't worry about it, because in the end of the day, no one's gonna really ask too many questions, because he came down to the conclusion that maybe people will just think he's a new hero. But anyway, he continues walking as he thinks, as he says, man, the future looks great. In all honesty, I love the look of this place. Feels nice and cozy, in all honesty, and oof. And after he made that little sound, something happened. Something changed because of his presence. The little girl, her event happened much earlier than expected. So Deku doesn't know if Chivalry lied or something happened because Deku is here when he's not supposed to be here. So what he does is he gently reaches down, not to hurt her or anything or look rude, but he does it in a gesture that's slow and steady. And the little girl is terrified. She's scared of of everything right now, because a certain person was chasing her, and right now there's this big knight in shining armor dude that's scary, because not because how he looks, it's just because she doesn't know what he's going to do. And that's when Deku puts Well, he gets on one knee, having one hand out, and does lift up his faceplate to show his face. And he says, "Don't be afraid. I'm not trying to scare you, child." And Eri relaxes, seeing his human face underneath, as he says, "Would you like to come with me for a bit? Somewhere that you could be safe?" And Eri takes a moment. She looks super duper hesitant, but in this moment, she decides to trust him. So she runs to him and, well, grabs his hand as he gently guides her away. When he's about to do so, that's when Overhaul comes around and he goes like, "Oh, I see you found my daughter." And right when he says that last bit, Deku already pulled out his sword, swung it, and cut off Overhaul's head. But right when he did that, in a swift motion, he turned Eri's head to make sure she didn't see what Deku did. Because even though he's a knight, even though he's from the past, he knows children should not be seeing what Deku is doing. Because, he has a lot of moral for that. And that's when Deku gently puts his sword away before Eri could see what he did and says, "Don't worry, that bad man won't hurt you ever again. Here, let's go somewhere else, okay? Can you do that for me, Eri?" And Eri, in a small, delicate voice, says, "Yes, I can." And that's where we're gonna leave it off. A little bit of a mystery ending here, in all honesty. Just letting you guys know, if you like this of what I did here, comment down below and be like, "We want more parts. We don't want this to be a one-shot. We want more. We want you to continue it," or whatever. So basically, just let me know if you want me to continue the series here, or if you just want it to be a one-shot and that's it, and you got the ending that you got. But in the end of the day, it's up to you guys, whatever you choose to do. I'm just letting you know this is an option because I thought this story could go more in a different type of way. And I understand that some people may say, "Oh, you did a whole God intervention thing and prevented this Deku from dying." Yeah, like honestly, I wanted to do something different. I wanted him not to be modern day Deku who just decided to be a knight, because I was like, okay, that could be fun to do, but I feel like it's more fun if we got him from the past and then he's experiencing all this future stuff. But I didn't want him to be super confused of what everything is. So that's why I made it so Chivalry kind of did something for K.infinite, and because K.infinite wanted this version of Deku to somewhat know stuff. He doesn't know everything, by the way. I'm just letting you know. So if I do continue this, remember, this Deku knows some basic stuff, but he doesn't know everything. He doesn't know, like, of all the stuff. And also, I did not retcon what I said in the beginning. That happened, but it was in the midst of the conversation. I just forgot to make, them talk about that stuff. Just letting you know. But besides that, have a good day. God loves you, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know that. And, well, I have a Discord. Go join that. I have also a X account, or aka Twitter. Join that. I also have a Facebook account if you want to follow me on there for some strange reason. But I have it. So, yeah. And they're all on my official channel, like links to all that stuff. I'm not going to link them in any of the videos because I'm like, I'm too cheap like that. And I'm not saying cheap because, I don't want to do it. I'm just like, I don't want to do it every freaking video. It takes a good while to find all my links and then put them on here. But that's all I have to say, and have a good morning, afternoon, whatever time you're at.